Look, it's a flood.
It's a flood.
It's flooding.
Get away.
Quick, we need to get to higher ground.
Open the floodgates.
So I was out doing deliveries a couple of days ago, right? And this dude outside of Wawa was sitting there asking people for loose change, and as I walked out, he asked me if I made good money doing DoorDash, and it made me feel some kind of way.
Did it, though? Like, maybe he was asking for personal reference, because maybe, like, you know, he wasn't homeless per se, like
he just only had one key,
or had like yeah, exactly, right? You know, there's lots of people vanning it right now. How do you feel? I know you probably had like a whole setup going here, but I'm gonna completely like hijack this vehicle and
believe
take
it or not, I kind of actually respect that because I didn't actually have a good follow-up.
Okay, well I
was more or less throwing an alley-oop.
Look at me, look at me, look at me. I am the captain now.
Okay.
And we are rising up and crashing through, getting it out of the way nice and early. This is Doc
and Ziggy.
And we are the Flood. That's right, your favorite weekly pop culture digest where we take our
pop perspective
to put the culture in context.
And make the mainstream make sense.
Because if we don't, then what happens? What happens? Back at it, taking the news happening around you and discussing how it shapes the culture that defines you. And what I want to discuss real quick before we roll into some of the things that we got happening this week. What are some of the things we got to talk about this week, Zig?
Well, we do have to give a little bit of an update on the NBA playoffs, which will be a little dated by the time, but, you know, we can talk about the potentials, because we're only down to 4 teams. Florida is going to have everybody wear clear backpacks, and it's not for fashion, like I thought it was going to be when I was in middle school.
Wow, 2000s fashion, right? That futuristic, like, chromium shit. Go ahead, though. What else we got? So, Doc and I got into a heated debate earlier this week over the best songwriter. Oh my god, listen, because the JD and P. Diddy versus battle is coming up.
Ja Morant has earned his nickname Ja Wick.
And there's a couple other things, but before we
have a soft move, a robust move, we got the Daredevil shutdown. We have the game of the year.
And before we get into all of that, I want to know, Zig, how do you feel about this new van life revival movement that's going on TikTok and like Instagram?
Oh, like the micro houses and stuff?
Van living.
I respect it.
If it came down to it and you had to get out of your spot, would you, and somebody tossed you like a quick 10K, could you convert a van into like a little micro house for yourself? And you,
do I get the 10K to convert it, or am I given the resources to convert it and then given 10K for doing it?
No, you get the 10K to convert a van into a micro house.
Oh, so I gotta call up Exhibit first.
Right? Okay, listen.
I'm like, I gotta talk to the person with experience doing this.
So hear me out. This is how, okay, pitch time. Pimp My Ride, right? Since you brought it up. Here's how we can redeem it, right? We take this
TikTok... Did it need redeeming?
Yes. Oh, absolutely, dude. Have you not seen, like, the Ask Reddit threads and stuff about that shit where they're, like, the cars that they fucking pimp out fall... apart in like a week after the show is over? Yeah, they make them like completely like just non-functional cars. Dog, the modifications that they made were so like shoddy and shit. It's terrible. Like, people's work cars got turned into like these fucking like clown shows. It was awful. Putting like fish tanks in people's cars. They put like a TV in a dude's steering wheel. Are you fucking kidding me? Dog.
Now we just have window mounts.
That show was so egregious that they could redeem themselves, right, by partnering with HGTV and joining the micro van house movement.
I have another way to redeem it.
Okay, but hear me out, right? Like, pimp my van or house my van. And they take popular house DJs and they have them find people, TikTok influencers who are living in their vans, and they pimp their vans out with MTV and Exhibit. Cut my check. Call my people. Cut my check.
I was gonna say, we take an old classic and we remix it.
That's what I'm.
With another old classic.
That's what I did.
Junkyard
That's
Wars?
what I did. Junkyard Wars.
Yeah, where people would be like tasked to build some wild machine against another team to try to accomplish some task, like have something that climbs this giant mountain.
Was that on Spike or was that on like HGTV?
No,
that was
that's
definitely
like a Discovery Channel.
Was that?
Show.
Yeah. No, that feels like Discovery.
Yeah,
Channel.
it was like it would probably be before or after MythBusters, like that type of thing. But that show, hosted by Exhibit, I'd watch the fuck out of that.
Junkyard Wars, hosted by Exhibit.
Pimp My Junkyard.
Shut up. No, absolutely not. That idea is trash. No pun intended.
All right. Well, I mean, if we're gonna talk about trash, let's talk about pop music. And this week's hit on the algorithm is "Last Night" by Morgan Wallen.
God, country music. As we were just talking about it, right? I've heard some Morgan Wallen, so I'm not just over here judging from like the fucking rafters, right? I can't with the fucking. Have you heard it?
Not yet. I mean, it's number one right now, so I think it just took number one because it just took over Kill Bill by SZA, or Kill Bill by fuck, I can't even remember.
It is SZA.
It is SZA?
Yeah.
Oh shit, I was like on top of my shit right there.
For a second.
Anyway, so I asked you for a number between 10 and 50, and you gave me 42. So, let's go back 42 years to the Billboard charts of 1981. And so, the top 5 were Bet Davis Eyes.
Bet Davis's? There's a Kenny Rogers song on here.
Is it No One to Hold Up?
It's Late Eat by Kenny Rogers. There's also a John Lennon song on here. And there's a Diana Ross. Okay, so number one.
Of those specific songs.
Of the top 5 of 1981's top Billboard hits, you have Kim Carnes at Betty Davis Eyes, and Diana Ross and Lionel Richie at number 2 with Endless Love. Then we have Kenny Rogers at number 3 with Lady, right? I'm not gonna sit here.
We
and
literally
pretend.
were just talking about how we don't fuck with country. So.
But Kenny Rogers is the GOAT, though.
I know when to hold up. Well, I mean, like
John Lennon at number 4 with the Just Like Starting Over, and
fuck that song.
number 5 is Rick Springfield's Jesse's Girl.
You want to know why
That's
I have
the one you were the most excited about.
Do you want to know why I
Jesse's
have
Girl?
a special affinity for that song?
Why?
Because of Rick Springfield's arc in Californication.
Oh my God, that's why. Jesus Christ.
Rick Springfield getting into fights with David Duchovny was priceless.
Yeah, no, that is you know, I would pay to see.
And they
that.
made running jokes. They were like, "You're literally famous off of one song," and he's doing coke out off of like a picture frame in the trailer with Marcy.
God, you are straight out of a John Hughes flick.
You know, we were talking about him in the history of film class.
For real?
Yeah. We had a whole chapter devoted to teen movies of the 1980s.
80s. I mean, when you think 80s though, like I mean, John Hughes is like, especially for teen drama movies in the 80s. Though,
yeah, we were given
Pretty
3 different
in Pink.
movies the option to watch.
Yeah.
So we were given The Breakfast Club and House Party.
Why would you not watch House Party?
Oh, I absolutely watched House Party. That was 100% the one that I watched.
Literally one of the best movies ever.
I 100% watched House Party. That was definitely the one that I chose. And I give my professor credit because in his journal thing, he was like, House Party wasn't even made until 1990, but that is another entire topic to cover, which we're not worried about right now.
Right.
So I'm like, my professor, I heard that, and I was like, shout out, you're good, you got it, you understand.
Also, St. Elmo's Fire was Joel Schumacher.
We did have like a whole 20-minute part of class where we were just saying how shitty a movie 16 Candles was. Or no, not 16 Candles. Pretty in Pink? Yeah, it was Pretty in Pink.
Pretty in Pink is...
like how stupid the ending was, how like the best friend was set up to be like totally the White Knight, and then she's just like, nah, fuck you. Like literally anyone in friend zone watching that movie had their dreams crushed.
Okay, see, that's why I feel like it's a little bit of a hot take to call that movie, to call it stupid for that reason, right? Because it takes that trope and it subverts it, right? It was one of the first movies to subvert that, like, oh, it was the best friend all along trope, right? And it's like, no, actually, it's not. She doesn't have to be into this nigga Ducky just because he's a good person, right? Like, hey, good guys don't always finish last or first. Sometimes she just goes her own way.
You can go your own way. Which is funny, because Fleetwood Mac broke up. And Stevie Nicks sure as hell went her own way and took half.
Like they all do. And on that note,
we'll take a quick break.
And we're back. Welcome back.
With some good old-fashioned weird news. And having some fun, well, laughing at people's expenses.
With one of our favorite segments.
Florida versus everybody.
Look, up in the sky. It's a bird.
It's a plane!
It's
Florida man's.
Making this the most Florida story of the week.
This is a segment where I go and find headlines from around the world, including, but not limited to, Florida.
That are of the wacky, insane, some might say downright quirky variety.
Sometimes scary. And I bring them to Doc. I bring them to Doc.
Sorry. Dude, I'm sorry. I just thought about for a second, like, somebody who was listening to this for the first time and was like, is that how they talk?
No, people, it's a bit. It's a bit.
It's a bit.
So I bring these headlines to Doc, and he has to decide if the headline is from Florida or everywhere else. And he gets some wrong, which is the point of the segment. Unlike before, I have the articles and context.
So I don't have to ask for context and be disappointed.
This week includes Nazis, time travel, art theft, dragons, and Interpol.
Okay. Alright. Number 1.
Swastika Mountain is renamed Mount Halo in honor of a historical tribe leader.
There's a Swastika Mountain, or was a Swastika Mountain. I don't feel like this is in Florida because I don't think there are any mountains in Florida.
That is good deductive reasoning. This is not Florida. Now, can you take a guess of where it is? This is how, by the way, audience, he earns bonus points.
Is it Montana?
No.
It's not Montana?
Would you like to take a second guess?
Ooh, do I get a second guess?
I will give you a second guess, because you're not far off.
Oh, I'm not?
No.
South Dakota.
Oh, Oregon.
Damn.
It is Oregon.
Oh, it's Oregon? Come on, Oregon. What the fuck is going on, Portland? Portland, y'all are supposed to be on this. Y'all are like the home base for Antifa. Like, there's a swastika mountain. What's it getting renamed to?
A lesser-known peak in western Oregon's Umpqua Forest was renamed Mount Halo after residents suggested a change to the moniker. The U.S. Board on Geographic Names approved the change from Swastika Mountain on April 13th. The new title, Mount Halo, pays tribute to Chief Halito of the Yankala Kapula tribe.
That's dope that they're... I need to know how the mountain got named Swastika Mountain in the first place. I'm sorry.
Carrie Timchuk, executive secretary at the Historical Society, told NPR last summer that the mountain, as well as the now extinct town of Swastika...
There was a whole Swastika town?
...were named after a cattle ranch of the same name in the early 1900s before Adolf Hitler and his party rose to power.
A cattle ranch. So the town was named after a cattle ranch, which was then named in remembrance of a mountain.
To which the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum says that the ranch was using the symbol for branding catalog that dates back as 7,000 years, meaning good fortune or well-being in Sanskrit.
Oh my God.
They do not believe that this mountain or town was named in bad faith.
There were Nazi cows running around Oregon?
The mountain's new name was approved in a 19-3 vote during the Oregon Geographic Names Board meeting in December.
Can you imagine being the three people in that meeting who were like, no, I think we should stay with tradition? Like, why? Dude, do you think those three people were neo-Nazis? Because they might not have been.
Maybe they were Antifa members who are die-hard against the paradox of intolerance.
Could you, like, why? I need to have, like, I just want to sit down with those three people and I'm just like...
I don't have the rationale behind the three
I know it's not in the article, but it's still funny that it was like 100.
They made damn sure to include the vote count.
193 to 3 to 3 people who were
19-3.
19-3. My bad.
There's still 3 people that were like, let's not rename Swastika Mountain.
I'm still geeking out about Nazi cows running around.
They weren't Nazi cows. They were just unfortunately branded cows. Because, I mean, the whole town of Swastika got a bad rap. I mean, think about it. They're just, like, living their best cattle ranch life, and then they're just like, who are these Nazis? Oh, my God.
Oh, my God, I almost
We should sue them.
Holy shit. Okay, alright, next headline, please, cause...
Time-traveling man crashes a car into building.
How do we know he was time traveling? This... You know, I'm gonna say this isn't Florida.
This is Florida.
Oh, god damn it.
A man who told police he wanted to time travel crashed his Dodge Challenger into a strip mall on North Davis Highway in Pensacola earlier this week. The vehicle sped through the traffic light at the intersection of North Davis Highway and West Fairfield Drive at approximately 10:50 a.m. and traveled through the front entrance of the Advanced Tax Services. The car barreled through the center of the building, coming to a stop outside of the double doors at the building's rear entrance.
He tried to Back to the Future without a flux capacitor? Why would you try to Back to the Future without a flux capacitor? That's all I'm asking. Because
I highlighted this specific line. if this had happened on a weekday, someone might have been in those cubicles. And it makes me think of our drop for this day in history 1 week from today, where it's Doc Brown going, next Saturday night, we're going back to the future. And it's, when I read this headline, I was like, this motherfucker was trying to Doc Brown it.
Yeah, no, he literally tried to Back to the Future it, son, without a flux capacitor, which was his first mistake. His second mistake was thinking and a Dodge Challenger, of all things. Now, and this is coming from somebody who appreciates American muscle, by the way, would be the thing that's going to take you back in fucking time. Which is funny that we said that, because I'm reading a book right now called Paradox Bound by Peter Clines. It's all about, like, time travel. This boy who meets this time-traveling secret agent who's on a hunt for the physical manifestation of the American dream. And the car she's traveling in is a, like, fucking Model A Ford, and the cars can only cars made in America can travel back in time in America.
Oh, I did want to actually give preface from this now. So, when it comes to looking up for wild headlines, a lot of the times Florida, they recycle a lot of old headlines. So I would like to make note of when these headlines are current versus when they are old. And the Florida Man time traveling is from 2015. However, Swastika Mountain is from last week.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, maybe this guy had read Paradox Mound and was like thinking, oh, okay, the Challenger, maybe they're on to something, right? But no, I think that was maybe like the year before this book came out,
So, this is a current headline. The guy who ate a 120,000 banana in an art museum says he was just hungry.
Oh, I saw this headline on Twitter. The dude who ate the banana that was duct taped to the wall, because first of all, now we have to have the discussion of whether or not a banana duct taped to a wall is art.
I have the NPR, who is not sponsoring this podcast, article printed up in front of me.
So there goes our chance to have this NPR sponsorship. But do you want to read the article?
Installations by Italian artist Maurizio Catalan are famously provocative, but his signature work, a banana taped to a wall, fell prey to a basic impulse: the hunger it provoked in a South Korean college student.
So, I don't care if you're a foreigner or not. If you are at an art exhibition and you see something taped to a wall, why would you assume that it is there for you to eat? Go ahead, keep reading the article.
The art in question, comedian, is frequently replaced. Duct tape banana is meant to evoke everything from Charlie Chaplin's slapstick comedy to the fruit status as an emblem of global trade. It spoke to No Hyun Soo in simpler terms, reminding him that he had skipped breakfast that morning. So as his visit to the Seoul's Liam Museum of Art stretched past noon late last week, No seized the yellow fruit and ate it, ignoring the alarmed cry of a museum staffer.
I was playing Donkey Kong IRL, bro.
It took No about 1 minute to yank the banana and eat it. And when he was done, he reattached the peel to its spot on the wall.
He didn't. So, no. Okay, so that move alone makes me feel like this was malicious.
No also suggested his own actions might qualify as art rather than mere transgression.
I was right.
As he transformed Kaplan's work and put it back on display. The No drama lasted only about 30 minutes as museum workers installed a second banana to restore Catalan's vision.
This nigga thought he shredded the Banksy. He was wrong. They had more bananas waiting. This is retarded. This is so retarded.
Previous iterations of Comedian have sold for $120,000, including one in 2019 that was promptly eaten by another artist at Art Basel in Miami Beach.
Yes.
There was money in that banana stand.
Well, it's all gone now, Dad.
There's $250,000 lining the walls of the banana stand.
Why didn't you tell me that?
How much clearer can I say? There's always money in the banana stand! No touching! No touching!
That was the first one. That was the first installation, if I remember correctly. Maybe it's not. Maybe this artist has been doing... You said the banana tape to the wall is called Comedian?
Yes.
Oh, so, yeah, because he's fully aware that obviously it's a troll, right? The only way this could be more troll is if they put a frame around the banana duct tape to a wall, because there's not a frame around the banana duct tape to a wall, because I guess that would be too tongue-in-cheek.
I bet
right?
the artist is thrilled whenever somebody eats
with the banana. I think that's the point, right? Like he's waiting for it to like happen, because it's like obviously somebody's gonna be like, why is this banana duct tape to the wall?
Idea, it reminds me of The Treachery of Images, the very famous painting.
Oh, here we go. Go ahead.
In French, it says, "This is not a pipe, but it is a painting of a pipe." So that was actually like the main topic of my first class of textual analysis.
Yeah.
Was that it was like, this is not a pipe. It is an icon of a pipe. The shape is associated
with pipes.
With a pipe, but it is not a pipe. It is itself. An icon of a pipe.
Right. It is not itself a pipe. This is not a ship. It is a model of a ship. It does float like a ship, and if you had people tiny enough, it could be a ship, but it itself is not a ship. No, that's... So, when people say art can be pretentious... Only people who are really like into high art understand the comedic like satire that is The Comedian. Other people see a banana on the wall and they're like, this is exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. Like this and Jackson Pollock and fucking Basquiat. Like, what is that?
People would be like, look at all of this art and be like, someone
and
like
I like
someone
Basquiat,
even
by the way.
like Banksy,
like,
and I love Banksy.
Yeah.
Like, people will just overly read too much into it, and sometimes the artist would just be like, I hit a dick in there.
Yeah.
Like, why did you do this? She goes like, just because I wanted to hide a dick in that spot.
Rescuers Down Under.
So, man pulls out machete after bar refuses to let him sing another karaoke song.
This definitely sounds like
This is Florida. A Florida man is being accused of pulling out a machete at a Brevard County bar. His request to continue singing karaoke at the business was denied.
Sometimes you get that bug in you, man, and you just gotta belt it out, and you gotta let everybody know what's in your heart. And when the bartender tells you you've had enough, and you're like, maybe other people don't deserve this microphone like I do. And actually, you know, I've come here consistently since you guys have done the karaoke night, and honestly, I feel like I really should be allowed to Chappelle it whenever I want. And the fact that you were telling me that I am nothing less of a Mariah Carey is in fact insulting in its own right. And maybe, just maybe, it is me who should be kicking you out.
During the conversation with authorities, Jordan said he was carrying the concealed weapon because it had been threatened 2 days ago and needed to stay alert in order to protect himself.
Stay woke out here in these streets,
this
fam.
This is an 18-inch machete.
18-inch, keep your head on a swivel because I'm chopping necks.
So that thing is basically running down the entirety of his calf
neck
or his thigh.
Yeah,
if he's trying to conceal that.
He pulled that shit out like the fucking Predator, son. It was like, let's go. Let's go. Are you gonna let me sing fucking Boogie Nights or what? Either I'm gonna get this Earth, Wind, and Fire out, or you...
This is also a current headline from last month.
Either you gonna let me sing this Luther Vandross?
I did karaoke. I was watching Last Rap...
Or I'm gonna cut your hands off.
I was watching the Sixers-Celtics game for a bit. Just stopped in after a delivery.
And you did
beer, and they were doing
karaoke?
karaoke. So I signed up to do Dance Magic Dance.
Oh my god.
And I had no idea that was a 6-minute long song. Like, literally, like, 2.5 minutes in, I'm like, it's still fucking going? DJ was like, it's 6 minutes long. I'm like, I did not... What? I thought this was like a quick little movie bit. Like...
I feel like our listeners can relate.
Church members hoping whoever stole truckload of pipes will have change of heart and shipment can be recovered.
Why would you steal a truckload of church organ pipes?
That is actually what the church, the people at the church are asking themselves.
Are they made of copper? Like, or brass? I feel like that would be made of brass, right? Like, is that a brass instrument?
Where is this from?
Okay, hold on. I have a counter question. Is a church organ a percussion instrument or a brass instrument?
Percussion instrument. By definition, it's a percussion instrument. Yeah.
Even
a piano is a percussion instrument.
Yeah, but a piano doesn't like produce sound through like fucking pipes though.
I think it's a woodwind.
They're not wood pipes.
No, but if it's producing the sound by sending air through the pipes, that would be a woodwind. Or technically, no, it would be a brass instrument then.
And there's the rub. So
I love that. You know how much I love that phrase.
Yeah.
And culture and context for all you people. Anyway.
This is not Florida.
This is not Florida. Would you like to take a guess at where it is from?
Bavaria.
No! You were close. It is close to Florida.
Oh, it's close to Florida. I thought you were gonna say I was close again, and I was about to be like, damn.
Nope, second guess. I'll give it. It's close to Florida.
It's close to Florida. Tennessee?
You want to take another guess? Where in Tennessee?
It's in Tennessee, though.
It is!
Okay, alright. Memphis?
It is in Memphis, Tennessee!
Yeah, baby!
Members of the Memphis, Tennessee church are hoping and praying that whoever stole a moving truck over the weekend will repent after finding out what's inside. Old organ pipes, and lots of them.
Damn, they're old. You don't need them.
Spencer Organ Company owner Joseph Frutella said in a police report that the pipes have limited value to whoever has them now.
No.
They have amazing intrinsic value to this project. They are historic. It is going to be very hard to sell to anyone else.
They're not gonna sell them, baby. They're gonna smoke crack out of them. Can you imagine what smoking crack out of a church organ pipe would be like? It's fucking holy.
The church was also relayed that Rotella said industry colleagues have had similar thefts. In those cases, the thieves realized that the contents of the van had little to no street value and abandoned the vehicle.
Yeah, that's probably what'll happen.
We hope for a similar resolution to come. To which I say, this doesn't make you a thug, Ja.
More than likely, that's
this
what'll happen.
This doesn't make you a thug.
No, they stole a moving van hoping that it would have something valuable in it, and it turns out this one had fucking church organ. Like, can you imagine how blown you would be if going through all that work, afterwards it turns out you just had a bunch of fucking, like, musical equipment? What am I gonna do? Start a roving band? Am I gonna start like... I guess I better become like a revival preacher.
Troupe.
Yep. Time to start televangelizing.
Hey, there's money in televangelizing. Creflo Dollar.
And his fucking private jets and shit. Did you hear that Beyonce and Jay-Z
What do you think's more profitable? Being a televangelist or a Supreme Court justice?
Being Beyonce and Jay-Z, did you hear they just bought the most expensive house in the United States? Over $200 million.
Only $200 million for the most expensive in America? Wow, it really is a recession.
Hold on, Yeah, no, they just purchased the most expensive home ever in California. It's a 30,000 square foot home in Malibu, eclipsing previous records of 177 million. The house tops in the top previously being a $238 million apartment in New York. The house that they bought, however, came in at a whopping $295 million.
Do you think even $295 million, do you still think Jay and Beyonce just bought that outright? Do you think they finance anything?
Oh yeah, no, when you get that rich, like, everything is like financing. But like, it's because they have the liquid capital, right? Like, they could, if necessary, if the market was like, oh, you need to pay for your house in cash right now. Like, Jay-Z, like, has, like, he could just, like, fucking sell Tidal, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like, do you think that they just went to the realtor and they're like, here's, what, $250 million in cash? Or do you think they were just like, all right, sure, we'll sign a 30-year mortgage?
I don't think it's a 30-year mortgage, but I don't think it's like a cash in a duffel bag kind of deal either. Like I said, when it comes to that, I think at a certain point,
like equity shares and shit like that?
Yeah, probably.
Jay's probably like, Jay and Beyonce are probably like, we like it, we'll take it. Talk to the lawyers.
Yeah. That's it. Talk to my financiers. This is like, talk to my accountant. We'll have my people call your people. Like, that's it.
And then they'll just negotiate the best deal.
Yeah.
I guess that would make sense. And then, like, Jay probably just gets, like, you know, his finances, like, super streamlined. I'm not saying other people to handle them, because I know Jay at this point is smart enough to handle his money. But, like, his simplified spreadsheet of all of his finances and shit like that.
I saw a walkthrough of this mansion probably like a year ago, maybe even like during COVID. But it's a fucking nice ass mansion, dude. Like, it's 30,000 square feet, and it's like up on a hill, like overlooking
it's like Tony Stark's house in Iron Man.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking baller. Like.
Next one. Man accused of driving to military base in stolen truck to warn of aliens and dragons.
Oh man, this feels very Florida.
This is Florida. A Florida man has been arrested after he was accused of stealing a pickup truck and driving to a Space Force base to warn the government against extraterrestrial and mythological creatures.
Oh my god, was it QAnon shit?
Johnson reportedly explained to authorities he was told by the president to warn the government that there were U.S. aliens fighting with Chinese dragons.
I'm sorry. But what is Hunter doing? It isn't enough that he's going viral on Instagram for being with different prostitutes every week, but now he's storming Space Force bases.
When he's taking the TikToks, like,
now he's storming Space Force bases. Listen, the whole fucking GOP.
They just want Hunter Biden's laptop for, like, discover their own new kicks.
Right, I was gonna say that whole GOP investigation turned up to be a big ass nothing burger, but here Hunter goes. The Chinese, they've got dragons, and by dragons, he means drunk.
Aliens versus United States aliens. Let's not get past that.
Dude, I need this. I need
Did the U.S. make a treaty with aliens, or did we create our own aliens?
I need Michael Bay to get working on this movie stat, right? Like, and I feel like even she and the CCP could get down with fucking Chinese dragons versus American aliens.
Have you seen the movie Hero with Jet Li?
Yes.
Yeah, great movie, right?
Yeah.
Major production force behind it? The Chinese government.
I'm not necessarily mad at that, because like the American government.
No, so this was actually as a result of the fifth wave of Chinese film directors.
Yeah.
Like, basically, like John Woo in Mission Impossible. They were basically classically trained directors, and then Chinese government officials were like, oh, this is profitable, let's make some dope shit.
The American government has done that too. Anytime the military is like heavily featured in any type of film,
South Korea does it a lot right now.
Pitch Perfect. Fucking like Pitch Perfect 3, the one that like took place on like the military base and all of that shit. That whole movie was like riddled with US like military influence. A movie about singing quartets. Just think about that. Like, the government
Think
has...
about what you do for your country.
The military...
fire and go on a war crime spree.
has a deal with, like, football. Like, American football, which in itself is, like...
The U.S. Army made a really fucking dope third-person shooter game.
I mean, Call of Duty. Like,
No, like, they made... Like, legit, the U.S. Army made one called... It was, like, America's Army, and it was a really fucking good game.
To distract from the fact that, like, Call of Duty is probably responsible for a lot of recruitment strategy. But, hey, like, we're not gonna get into that because this is not...
We respect our soldiers.
Alex Jones podcast.
And because we respect our troops.
Oh, okay. So equating the like fucking Call of Duty to like military recruitment pipeline is disrespectful to the troops somehow.
Maybe they're really good at Call of Duty. They're keeping our country safe.
Next headline.
A woman gets 21 years for trying to kill her doppelganger with poisoned cheesecake.
Why did you, first of all, that's absolutely disgusting. Why would you disrespect cheesecake like that?
You know how I said there is one really wild headline? This is the wildest story. By far. And this one is from last month.
I mean, it was extra spicy the way you came in and said woman, but then you said poison cheesecake, and I was like, fuck this bitch, because anytime you desecrate cheesecake, you deserve to be, like, you know, sent to jail. So, like, I hope this bitch got what she deserved. What's going on?
Now, is this Russia? Because remember, you have to guess.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Is this Russia, or is this anywhere else?
I feel like this is Russia, because we are doing Florida versus everybody,
God,
and
that's a
you said
fucking
Russia.
Freudian slip.
I had to let you know that's what you did to yourself just now.
I will tell you that it did not take place in Russia, but
Jeez.
involved a Russian national.
Oh, so did it take place in Ireland then?
No. It took place in New York City.
You know, I will say that it is very stereotypically Russian of her to poison her operative. Because I just, like, why? Why is it that, you know, the Russian government, like, was it, like, radioactive poison?
Government? Russian government? No, if you remember at the top of the segment, I said Interpol was involved.
You did say Interpol was involved.
A Russian woman living in New York City was sentenced to 21 years in jail for poisoning her similar-looking friend with sedative-laced cheesecake, then stealing her identification and other valuables.
Oh, this is this story. I should have known that this what this was. I heard about this. Go ahead.
Jury convicted Victoria Nazarova, 47, of attempted murder, assault, and other charges in February. Queens District Attorney Melinda Katz announced her sentence this week, nearly 7 years after the made-for-TV incident. A ruthless and calculating con artist is going to prison for a long time for trying to murder her way to personal profit and gain.
This is definitely some made-for-TV shit. This woman fucking, like, tried to murder her doppelganger so she could take over her life. And and then was gonna fake her own death and take over this other lady's, like, and Interpol got involved. This shit is crazy.
The defense believes that Judge Holder's sentence was excessive and inappropriate, given Miss Nazarova's life circumstances, her mental illness history, family support, and her traumatic experiences while living in the U.S.
So they're saying that the sentence was heavy-handed, considering she tried to fucking murder a lady and take her life. Like, okay, so I get, like, what kind of, like, mental health, like, issues are we talking about? Because unless this woman is schizophrenic, I don't feel like...
Prosecutors argued that Nazarova had poisoned her friend in order to steal her identity so that she wouldn't have to return to Russia, where she is wanted for a 2014 murder.
See, I have a mental illness that causes me to commit murder. I constantly murder people, and then I have to move to different countries and take over other people's lives that I then murder, because you can't take over somebody else's life unless they are no longer living.
The cheesecake incident began when Nazarova brought cheesecake over to beautician Olga Shevik's home on August 28, 2016. They were close in age. Shevik was 35 in appearance at the time, the district attorney's office notes. Nazarova ate 2 pieces of cheesecake, then offered a third slice to Shevik, the BBC reports. Shevik felt sick and, after eating the cheesecake, went to lie down, where she started violently vomiting and floating in and out of consciousness, terrified there was something seriously wrong with her. The next day, a friend of Shevik discovered her unconscious in bed with pills scattered about her body, as if she quote-unquote attempted to kill herself. She was then taken to a hospital for treatment.
Wow, she set the scene up and everything.
Upon returning
this is
home,
awful.
Shevik realized that her passport and employment authorization card were missing, as well were her gold ring and other unspecified valuables.
Damn, not only should she steal this lady passport, but she took her fucking jewelry and shit too, like... This is some cold-blooded shit.
The cheesecake and pills came back positive for fentanyl, which prosecutors describe as a highly potent sedative, which is available for prescription in Russia, but not controlled in the United States. She laced the cheesecake with deadly drug so she could steal her unsuspecting victim's most valuable possession, her identity.
This story is so crazy, dude. I can't. It really. I'm waiting for the like Netflix documentary.
Interpol had a red notice out for Nazarova. This wasn't Nazarova's first brush with the law or with poison, authorities say. She's accused of killing her friend, Alla Alensenko, and stealing her life savings in Russia 2014.
Jesus.
The following year, Interpol issued a red notice for Nazarova's arrest for murder. In other words, a request to law enforcement worldwide to locate and provisionally arrest a person pending their extradition or surrender. Nazarova was arrested in March 2017 on charges including attempted murder and grand larceny. She said, "I am not a killer. I'm woman. Only woman."
I guess it's true what they say. You should never meet your doppelganger. And with that being the last headline, I think it's time for another
break.
You take a sound, any sound, record it, and then change its nature by a multiplicity of operations. You record it at different speeds, you play it backwards, you add it to itself over and over again. You adjust filters, echoes, acoustic qualities. You combine segments of magnetic tape. By these means and many others, you can create sounds which no one has ever heard before.
Okay, in some quick sports updates.
The finals are happening.
Well, they're not happening yet. However, as of right now, the Denver Nuggets are up 3-0 on the Lakers, and the Miami Heat are up 2-0 on the Boston Celtics, and Jimmy Butler is a superhuman.
And by the time you hear this, we'll probably know who's going to.
I'm going to make a not crazy assumption and say the Nuggets are gonna be there. Because winning 4 games in a row is hard.
Yeah, and especially against LeBron's Lakers. Nuggets, right?
Well, no, the Nuggets only have to win 1 game against LeBron's Lakers.
Yeah.
LeBron's Lakers have to win 4 games against the 2-time MVP, including 2 games in Denver, with the elevation actually taking a physical toll on people.
So, who do you think the other team is going to be?
I don't really want to talk about it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, I feel you. But at this point, it's not really looking good, is it?
Not looking good for Boston. Jimmy Butler is really good at basketball. And I love how people are like, oh my god, we're realizing how good Jimmy Butler is in the playoffs. Meanwhile, Cool Zach and I are like, we've been watching this since he was at least in Philadelphia. Like, the dude is a fucking dog.
The Heat edge it out every time. And it is looking like it might be a Nuggets versus the Heat kind of final.
If the Nuggets come out of the West, I'm rooting for whoever comes out of the East.
Really? So you'd be rooting for the Heat in that situation?
I love Jimmy Butler. It just sucks rooting against him. Just like last year, I love Steph Curry. It sucks rooting against him.
Yeah. As a Celtics fan, no, I totally get that.
Even if LeBron made the finals with the Lakers, even though it's not looking good, I still give him credit. This is a hell of a thing for them to get to the Western Conference Finals, especially since now, like, they started off 2-10.
Some people might say it's a hell of a thing to even get to the NBA.
You're right, it is an extremely difficult thing to get to the NBA. However, the San Antonio Spurs are thrilled to have the number 1 pick in this year's draft, where they get to draft Victor Wembanyama.
Oh, okay. So do you want to tell us a little bit about Victor Wembanyama?
So basically, he's 7'4".
Jeez. Where is he from?
France.
France. Oh, okay.
His offensive game looks like Kevin Durant.
Okay.
But taller.
Isn't Kevin Durant like
7 feet tall?
Right.
This guy's 7'4".
Right. Okay.
He plays defense like Rudy Gobert, who is 6'11".
Yeah.
This guy is 7'4".
Yeah, right.
Clean 3. He's got handles. I watched this dude dribble between the legs, throw a quick pivot, and then hit a step back fade away 3-pointer. And he's 7'4".
Well, I mean, yeah, at 7'4", like the fucking rim's not too much higher than him, right? Like, with the proliferation of, like, players getting, like, taller and taller as time goes on, they're fucking gonna have to raise, like, regulation rims a little bit.
So, people are even mentioning the introduction of a 4-point shot. So, it's great that he went to the team that I wanted him to go to from the beginning, the San Antonio Spurs, because the Spurs are a franchise who won't fuck it up.
You think they will do this?
The last time they tanked and got the number 1 pick, they picked a dude named Tim Duncan. The time before that, they picked a guy named David Robinson.
Right.
David Robinson, by the way, I don't know if you knew this, you might, is a Naval Academy graduate.
Oh, no, I did not.
He did his full 4 years at the Naval Academy, and instead of having to do the required, I think, 3 years in active duty, which my dad, who was class of 72, had to do, they actually made an exception for him to do it in the reserves, so he could be a number 1 draft pick by the San Antonio Spurs to have a from the United States Naval Academy.
Right.
Or the San Antonio Spurs select David Robinson from the United States Naval Academy. Can you ask for better PR?
No. It's crazy, the things that notoriety will get you.
But, I mean, he did actually do, like, reserve stuff, and, you know, his nickname is the Admiral. So...
Right.
It's gonna be great, because, Greg Popovich is, you know, like, one of the greatest coaches ever. And San Antonio, like, I used to have a running joke that the only certainties in life were death, taxes, and the Spurs making the playoffs. Because they legit made the Western playoffs 22 years in a row.
Hey.
There were people at one point who were alive, and the Spurs never missed the playoffs during their entire life.
It's like the
That's
opposite.
That's really fucking impressive.
It's like the opposite of it was the Cubs.
Yeah. So, like, the running joke is the Spurs are the greatest franchise at losing ever. They don't lose often, but when they do, they lose the best.
Which is still better than the Cubs. Or the Browns, for that matter.
Speaking of Browns, Jim Brown just died earlier today.
Yeah, R.I.P. Jim Brown. Because...
One of the GOATs. Lacrosse legend.
Absolute legend.
Lacrosse legend.
Acting legend.
Yeah?
Yeah. In general.
How many blaxploitation movies was he in?
Don't do that to Jim Brown. Not when we're RIPing him.
That was an important film movement, sir.
It was. Check out Is It Black Enough for You on Netflix.
But, I mean, if we're going to talk about another, cultural movement, I thought we were done with the whole, bling-era hip-hop type of aesthetic and deal. And what's going on with Wick?
Damn, that's how you transitioned into that? That was a dirty transition.
So, as we covered on a previous episode, and anybody that's tuned into sports talk pretty much
should already know by this point.
John Morant got in trouble about 2 months ago for going on Instagram Live with a gun, on top of a whole bunch of other anecdotal stories that came out about him with firearms.
So there was the incident where they were, the Phoenix Suns and the Memphis Grizzlies.
The Pacers.
It is the Pacers.
The Pacers.
The Indiana Pacers.
And red dot.
Yeah, and they were like, ooh, Ja pointed the laser sights at us, right? And then there was the incident in the club where he was caught waving the blicky in the club, which he claims wasn't his, allegedly.
Also, tiny ass gun,
and that's the blicky.
No disrespect to Don Zalud.
I was gonna say, first of all, what do you really think he's gonna sneak an AR into the club like the dude who was walking up and down Severn in Maryland with the fucking AR in protest of the open carry law that just got passed?
I almost put that in Florida versus everybody.
Cause it's great. Why would you do it? Obviously, he knew what he was doing. Out front of a school, he wanted to get attention, and there were people who were some people on one side were complimenting his trigger discipline, and they understood he's doing it to get attention. The other side was just no, this is the whole
Bad
reason.
Optics.
This
Bad
is the
optics.
whole reason Westmore passed the law in the first fucking place. But anyway. Back to Ja Morant, because Westmore can't do anything about Ja Morant, and neither can Adam Silver. Ja literally looked Adam Silver in his face and was like, I'm sorry, that's not me. I won't do that again. I'm not here to promote violence or anything like that. And then, goes back on Instagram and
apologizes with something that may or may not have been written with ChatGPT.
And it's called waving the blicky again after he said he wasn't gonna go on Instagram Live anymore.
He didn't. His friend did. John just looked at the camera.
Yeah, and apparently had that shit sitting in his lap. Okay, but
you see, he would have been fine if he caught his friend on Instagram Live and he had the blicky, but then he noticed the camera and then was cut that shit off. Because then people could be like, at least he tried.
So aside from the club thing, I get. Right, sneaking a gun
actively bad optics
into the club because you've got privilege that's a wild move. Shine got kicked out of the country, but also Ja's in Tennessee. Everybody in Tennessee got guns.
Yeah, that's one of the other things. There's not even permits in Tennessee.
Everybody in Tennessee got guns. So are you telling me that this young millionaire who is living in one of the most gun liberal states in the country is not supposed to be walking around armed and carrying?
Rest in peace, young Dolph.
I don't understand. I really don't last time we talked about this.
Culture and context here, right now. This is the same city where young Dolph was shot and killed.
I mean, not just, but it's also fucking Tennessee. Do we really think that Tennessee would be hollering at any of its other the Titans players if they were caught mudding on back roads with ARs and shit like that?
Nah, they just get cut and next man up.
I don't even think they would get cut, especially if it was
suspended.
Some good. I don't think it would happen. I'm sorry, especially if it was some good old boys. If this was a white player, I don't think it would be that big idea.
Of wearing a helmet.
if it was a white player, I'm pulling that card. I don't think it would be that big of a deal. I think the issue here is...
No, I mean, MLB players post hunting photos all the time.
It's a black player in the NBA. He's young, and black gun culture currently right now is toxic. It is wave the blicky in the club on IG Live toxic.
Where, like I said, MLB players will post pictures of them guns hunting.
No, and I honestly don't really see, like, the difference in, like, the bragging, right? Like, one is like, ooh, I actually killed a thing, and the other is like,
I might kill a thing. I might kill a person.
You fuck around and find out. Like, I don't see the difference. I'm sorry, I really don't. And, like, some people will be like, oh, you're clearly being just, like, obtuse here. And I'm like, I'm not really, though. Like, if you sit back and look at it, like, what are we mad at? He hasn't attempted to shoot anybody. Yes, there was that one incident where he, like, got into it with the fucking 17-year-old. But, like, let's not forget that Ja is how old?
23.
Fucking 23 years old. You're going to tell me that
physically difference, there's not going to be that much. I mean, yeah, Ja's a pro athlete, but Ja's also not like a huge dude.
You're gonna tell me that there aren't fucking incidents in this country in trailer parks where fucking 23-year-olds get into it with 17-year-olds and threaten them with guns all the time.
At a pickup basketball court.
Like, yeah, come on. It happens, folks. Like, let's not pretend like this dude is really doing anything.
Generally, the rule with pickup, though, is A, don't.
Yeah.
And B, if it does, just... Dude, it's basketball. Just not that big a deal.
Listen, and I get it, right? Like, the NBA, they're trying to set a standard. There's a set of professionalism here.
They have a morality clause in everybody's contract.
But I feel like this shit is a little heavy-handed, given the circumstances. Like
he hasn't officially... He's been suspended by the team indefinitely.
Yeah, because they're not in the playoffs right now.
Well, league suspension is still to be determined.
And
however,
I feel
it is
like
expected to be pretty heavy. Now, granted, this used
do you
to
feel
be
like
an
that's
image
justified,
in the NBA that was a lot more prevalent. That has since been curbed. Also, curbed at the time before social media really coming into play. So seeing players with this exposure with players is something new, where previously we would just hear stories about this person with a gun.
Incident. Yeah. So, but do you feel like it's justified, though? Or do you feel what I'm saying, where it's like, this is kind of like a victim of circumstance thing, where it's like, Ja is young, he's black, he's got dreads, and he's fucking hanging out in Memphis acting like he's young, wild, and thugging.
I think he's risking $200 million as the face of the NBA.
Which is what I said, as the face of the NBA, who I feel like that's
he's potentially one of the faces of the... He has a signature shoe from Nike, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I get that.
Potentially. He might fuck that up.
Which is dumb to me because he's in fucking Tennessee. It's not like we're talking about somebody who was, like, in, like, this, like, non-gun associated state. Right? Like, I feel like if he was wearing mossy oak and, like I said, hanging out on some fucking ranch somewhere and shooting ARs, nobody would be pissing this much.
Hot take. The people that are defending Ja don't even watch the NBA.
Defending him or offended by him?
Defending him.
Are you taking shots at me?
No. I'm saying, like, a lot of the people who are going to be defending Ja are super pro-gun, but they don't give a fuck about the NBA.
No, I think gun nuts are going to jump on this, right, as they always do when it comes to the young black youth in them. Like, the kids in Chicago and, like, what's going on in Baltimore, or the inner cities in general. This is what I mean about black gun culture, right? Because most black gun culture is focused on inner city youth. Right, it's not like taking into perspective rural black communities, which in this case you would consider that Ja would be a part of, even though I guess Memphis is not a rural community, it is a city, but it's Tennessee we're fucking talking about here, right? And I just feel like it's wild to assume anybody with money in Tennessee doesn't have a gun.
Even people without
money in Tennessee have guns. So you're telling me, ooh, this young basketball player who is in this fucking like gun liberal state shouldn't be seen on Instagram waving guns around? Get the fuck out of here.
We watched a little bit of a Michael Moore documentary in history of film class, and there he went into a bank, and if you opened a savings account, they would give you a free gun.
In Tennessee?
In a southern state.
Listen,
They would give you a free gun with every checking account.
I'm just saying, John Morant pretty much has a free checking account playing for the NBA. And I think his gun behavior is a little bit reckless, and there is something you could argue that black gun culture in itself is toxic, right? I'm not gonna say it's a tad bit toxic. It is pretty toxic. Waving guns at the cameraman is not cool, guys. I mean, they're probably not loaded most of the time.
Ask the cinematographer on the Rust set.
It's a dark. And on that note, we won't know if John Morant is getting fired or not. But to clear up,
he's not getting fired. But the thing is like, Ja's image is associated to so many different people's bags.
Yeah, I get it.
Adam Silver, the Memphis Grizzlies, the owner of the Memphis Grizzlies, the TNT crew are all looking at you and you're like, you could fuck this up for all of us. At this point, they'd be more ready to cut bait on Ja than to just cut bait on the league.
I feel like that's how Fox felt when they let go of Tucker Carlson. And lately on the internet, people have been speculating what other axings are on the way following the Tucker Carlson firing, especially considering the hefty settlement that Fox News has to pay Dominion, which Dominion has followed up in a statement insisting that the Tucker Carlson firing has nothing to do with the lawsuit. It was not one of the clauses that was stipulated. And just so you guys know, Laura Ingraham is not being fired either. It is not yet clear whether or not Sean Hannity will take over Tucker Carlson's spot, because that was another rumor that was floating around the internet. But it is also clear, Fox has made it clear that the rumor that Laura Ingraham is to follow with Tucker Carlson is also not true. Just so we clear that up.
But we haven't seen Laura Ingraham and Tucker Carlson in the same room since.
There's also speculation that Tucker Carlson...
Can you imagine Tucker Carlson in drag as Laura Ingraham to stay on air?
If George Santos was doing his makeup, I could see it. But in Tucker Carlson in drag is something I don't think anybody actually wants to see. I would have liked to see Laura Ingraham be fired, but it does not look like we will actually be getting the chance to see that.
So, we are just here debunking internet rumors for you all.
We will get the chance to see, though, is a baby born from 3 people's DNA. That's right. One of the first cases of a child born with 3 sets of DNA.
I'm gonna let you cook on this before I even respond. I'm gonna let you cook. You cook.
Has been born to a set of parents in the UK. The pioneering technique is an attempt to prevent the child from being born with a devastating mitochondrial disease. And the DNA used from the third parent is like 0.1% of the actual DNA. Not enough to actually be qualified as a third parent, according to the article. But the child itself was born with some kind of mitochondrial genetic defect. They're using this new and emerging procedure, right, to implement a third set of DNA that would help kind of correct the mitochondrial deformity that's going on here in the birthing process, in an attempt to help provide a normal lifestyle for the child, or a normal growth pattern for the child.
So this is something that was recognized prenatal as a condition this child might have?
Yes.
And then they added a third strand of DNA? Or a strand of DNA from somebody else.
Yes, I mean, because technology that we have now allows for pretty like early detection of like genetic malformities and stuff like that in the like gestation process of human babies. I don't know why that sounded so weird, but yeah, no. According to this article, this donor is only relevant in making effective mitochondria and does not affect any other traits such as appearance or like cognitive behaviors or genetic traits that are passed down. It is literally just her mitochondria.
So when I saw this headline, the first thing that popped into my head was
That person, Edward. That person, Edward. Big Brother Ed.
Wow, that's really where you took it. No, this is not some weird
the
like
Chimera only said one thing. Kill me.
Yeah, no, this is
or
not.
No. I want to die. The Chimera said, I want to die.
This is not some weird Chimera baby. They are literally just they have taken the mitochondria from one woman's egg cells and implanted them into another woman's.
The moment, if I was the
process.
dad, the moment I heard this, I'd be like, all right, save the baby. There's therapy on the way, though.
There have only been up to 5 cases where this procedure has been done, and they will not name exactly how many cases have been done in order for people to not track it down. Because
for the 20 people involved in this 5 cases, do the math real quick.
I could
that
see
joke is hilarious.
How some people might think like something like this is controversial, especially like people, you know, far off in the religious categories there.
If it dies, it dies.
Wow, that was dark. You know who doesn't feel that way? South Florida schools, who will only allow clear backpacks as of next year in an attempt to promote school safety.
Now, I will admit, back in like the mid-2000s, and first time I saw a clear backpack at Office Depot, I was like, that's kind of fucking dope and transgressive. I dig that. And now it's kind of dystopian.
It's extremely dystopian and still somehow transgressive. I think this is wild in an attempt to, you know, really stand your ground and not change gun laws at all, because
let's just violate personal privacy.
In the New York Post article, it says that teachers, staff, and visitors will not be subject to the clear bag rules. Only students, because, you know, only students commit gun violence in America. It's never people from outside of the school who are taking their
I will say,
aggressions out on the school for whatever
I haven't
reasons
heard of many cases
are listed in their manifesto.
Of the teacher shooting up the class.
It's a lot. I mean, fucking Sandy Hook was an elementary school.
But
it wasn't an elementary school kid who brought a gun to the school.
I know, but like,
that dude would have been technically labeled a visitor and his bag wouldn't have been searched because it wasn't clear. I can tell you that in Texas, they had just passed a law that might allow for teachers to be paid extra to go through the process of being taught gun safety and being certified to carry guns in the classroom, right? So there's that. I don't know if that's any better than clear backpacks, to be honest with you, because I feel like this all falls short of just passing better and more comprehensive gun regulation legislation. Because once again, this all falls really absurd to the point when you look at the fact that a lot of these mass shootings aren't even committed by students in the school and haven't been since like Columbine. I know like the colleges are a bit different, but this isn't even like college. Like this is the public school system. So I don't even know if this would affect even like public college.
Universities?
Yeah. It's stupid. All this ahead of Ron DeSantis announcing, or supposedly announcing, by the time you hear this, I guess we'll have known whether or not he's actually going to run for president, but the rumors are boiling up that the announcement is coming.
You were talking about something, just an answer being stupid. Sometimes answers aren't stupid, they're just creative. I came up with the phrase earlier, probably last month. I've had a lot of ideas in my life. Some of them were good.
And some of them were
other ideas. So let's talk about Manhattan and how they are taking a creative approach to climate change.
I guess you could look at it like that. A report came out recently that it seems
within about 80 years, Manhattan, the lower side of Manhattan, not just the Lower East Side of Manhattan, is going to be flooding.
Underwater. Manhattan is sinking, as the report states.
So, instead of stopping that,
they're rebranding, as you will.
The new Venice, if you will.
Because New York was once New Amsterdam, so why shouldn't Manhattan just, follow tradition, right? Duh.
It'll follow right in suit with Venice, and because the East River is filthy, make the canals absolutely disgusting. However, it might prevent homelessness.
How do you think Eric Adams is going to adapt to this? I guess he won't be mayor then, right? It's like 80 years.
We'll talk about how do you think Rudy Giuliani III will react?
He'll sweat in the river, causing it to flow even further more into the streets. Listen, this is wild. 80 years is a long time.
Who do you think will be mayor of New York in 80 years, and why will it be Derek Jeter's grandchild?
Wow. So that's assuming that the rest of New York won't be fucking absolutely underwater by then, considering the rate at which these storms just keep rising. It's like, no, we did that part already.
Yeah, we did.
But the flood waters are rising. No, we did that part already.
Yeah, we did.
Listen.
We should have started with this story. It would have been so easy.
I feel like, transitioning to gondolas would probably be easier than battling New York City traffic. So, I mean, maybe this is a win-win for New York. They've already got all the skyscrapers, so you just cut out, like, the first level of the buildings, and
which is hilarious, because people all on the lower floors probably are paying higher rent.
And are poor. So, once again, this is a situation that'll suck for poor people.
Rich people, too. They don't want to wait in the elevator that much longer. They'd probably pay higher rent to be on the 4th floor.
Yeah, and now you've got to pay somebody to fucking gondola you to your fucking bagel shop, right?
Yeah, taxi drivers.
Gondola caddy, take me to go get a chopped cheese.
And sing to me while you're doing it.
Oh, can you imagine getting strolled in a gondola to fucking Cardi B, dog? Because that's what's gonna happen. Are you ready for that?
Yeah, just show up to the lower side of Manhattan and get picked up by an Armenian, an Armenian gondola captain.
This is how the taxi drivers get one up on Uber, right? They just transition into fucking gondola sailing. Just
like their taxis, just the wheels go outwards and sideways, and then all of a sudden they turn into boats.
Yeah, going down.
In my Florida versus everybody,
Street.
I saw a headline where a guy turned a jet ski into a motorcycle and got pulled over. No, that's just industrious. I give that guy credit.
Was that in California?
That was in Florida.
Oh, that was in Florida.
That was definitely in Florida. You have to remember, Florida has the biggest absurdities, but also it's real ingenuity in them,
I was
too.
gonna say California's got some pretty lax, vehicle laws, though.
That's a very
you can
Florida
drive
idea.
almost like anything.
You're like, I could take this jet ski and hit the golf trail and then pick up the highway on my way out. That way I can go through Brew-Through and get a 30-pack of Budweiser.
Seeing a golf cart driving on the highway is just another reminder that
we're still not done the episode.
Oh, we're not? What do we else have left? Damn.
No, we're not done the episode. You kidding me?
What do we have left?
Well, we have a soft move or a boss move, and then we have to talk about the game of the year.
Oh, that's right. We hadn't talked about, so it's just another reminder that
Zelda is still the best franchise in video games.
And we'll talk about that right
after this break.
And we're back.
So, I had a question for you.
And if you guys have questions for us, this is your second reminder that you can send them to us at the Flood Pod on everything, and that is
on everything. Or if you just want to email it to us the normal, old-fashioned way, it's thefloodpod@gmail.com. So, I want to know if this is a soft move or a boss move.
Moving on, it's time for soft move or boss move.
For our new listeners, that is a segment where I find a headline and I propose to Doc, because it's a little confusing to me of whether or not that was a soft move, like, what the fuck? Or a boss move, like, what the fuck? Earlier this week, Lil Wayne was doing a concert in LA and he cut the show short because the crowd was not into it.
Listen, I've seen this several times before and I feel a way about it. So, it turns out, after one of the opening acts received a lackluster, I guess, applause from the audience following their performance, Wayne came out in a video that has since gone live on sites such as Instagram and TikTok of him complaining of the lackluster enthusiasm, as you put earlier, to the appearance of his new artist that apparently has less streams on Spotify than probably us at this point. And I don't even know if that'd be harsh, because I've never seen this dude in my life. But Wayne was not having it, he was not feeling it, and promptly canceled the rest of the performance after what some of the Twitter users stated was being like fucking like 3 hours late, which is probably why they had to sit through those extra performances of Lil Twist and the new artist.
Hip Hop DX reported the 40-year-old rapper hit the stage about an hour late. Then after about 30 minutes, and bringing up surprise guest 2 Chainz, the Fireman rapper walked off to take a break and didn't return to finish his set as documented by fans on social media. Instead, he gave fellow Young Money artists Alan Kubas, Lil Twist, and Yaj Katter the spotlight, and you can correct me on all those pronunciations, and had them finish the show.
Right, as far as I know.
A video posted to Twitter shows Lil Wayne wearing a Kobe Bryant jersey, cutting the entire show short. He turns to Kubas and says, "We appreciate it, but we ain't about to be bending over backwards for these folks. We work way too hard for this shit."
So after he, promptly stormed off stage, everybody, took to Twitter and was like upset and shit. And I guess you're asking me ultimately if this is a soft move or a boss move. Canceling a show because people weren't receiving you being late to your show an hour late, not 3 hours like I had previously said. Although
Travis Scott,
I'm sure Wayne has been that late to a show before, but that's not the point here. The point
so is Axl Rose. This is nothing new in the rock sphere.
Right. So when Axl did it, and
we got super fucking pissed at him, and GNR broke up.
Would cancel the show afterwards. Like, that
doesn't mean we didn't stop buying tickets until it became a regular thing.
Total diva shit. It's total diva shit to show up to a show an hour late and then cancel it because fans aren't receiving your new unknown artist and opening talent. Right? Like, after bringing 2 Chainz out, like, that's supposed to somehow make this shit better. No, it's a total soft move.
Soft move.
Yeah, given context, soft move. If it was, like, he's really putting on a live show, and it's at, like, a venue and an event, like, truly catered for him, like, say it's the Hollywood Dome, right? Or, like, the crowd does this shit, I'd understand it a little bit more, because clearly you paid the ticket to see a fucking show.
Right.
But this almost sounds like he was just, like, contracted as, like, almost like a filler type of thing. Like, this doesn't sound like a fucking giant wheezy show at a Hollywood Dome. Or I could just be totally wrong, and this is some straight-up diva shit. I caught myself earlier trying to play devil's advocate in defense of something that was really stupid earlier today, so maybe I'm doing it again. It's probably a soft move. However, it's better than people dying in his crowd like the Travis Scott show. I think we're at the two extremes of this. We have your crowd is too live, and your crowd is not live enough. Which one I'm talking about? That's up to you.
One thing I can tell you that...
Was Travis Scott's crowd not live enough?
Wow. One thing I can tell you that was live, though, was this new Zelda drop.
That's the sound of me skydiving through the air, everybody. Doc, how many times have we talked about Breath of the Wild on this podcast? In passing.
Countless. You have rattled off the number of play hours you have for Breath of the Wild.
Over 450. Shamelessly so. So, I think it's closer to 600.
Numerous amounts of times.
I said that game was a perfect 10, except for, like, 7 things, right?
Weapon durability is shit in that game.
That is one.
It is absolute dog shit in Breath of the Wild.
Okay, so...
You can hit an enemy, like, 4 times with any weapon.
With, like, a soldier's broadsword.
And it'll break.
Okay, so that's one. Go on. What are some of the other complaints?
I would say initial endurance, like Link's initial endurance is...
Oh, his stamina?
Yeah.
No, that's a good thing. And it's still that way in Tears of the Kingdom.
I mean,
I'm super frustrated about it, because everything is killing me, but at the same time, I run out of energy at the same time. And that reminds me of the early game of Breath of the Wild, so that's actually kind of par for the course. The game is supposed to be hard.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but
It is supposed to be a difficult game.
He could have a tad bit more endurance. Okay, so what are some of your complaints?
So, some of my other complaints were a lack of caves and water levels.
You are definitely on the opposite end of the spectrum as far as, like, everybody else is concerned, because, like, the internet unanimously, and I am right along with them, hates water levels.
I agree, too, but I miss that my anger cannot be directed somewhere. All of my anger is I cannot unjustifiably throw it at the water temple. I actually have to accept the fact that I need to get good.
Yeah. Okay.
And I hate that.
So go ahead.
But they have given us
no water levels to blame your trashness on.
Countless caves, and even wells. 56 wells, to be exact.
In Tears?
Yes.
Oh.
Enemy diversity was another big thing, where it was just like there's like 7 different types of enemies and 3 variations of everything. There are still, I've been playing this game for at least 20 hours, and I am still running into new enemies I have never fucking seen.
Oh, that's good, because that is one thing that will make me, like, grow tired of a game really quickly, is, like, if it has the same patch of enemies over and over again.
Another one was real dungeons. We were missing real dungeons. Well, guess what? They gave us real dungeons.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you guys wanted to play a Zelda game and not Dark Souls.
Why not both? Or no both those? Like I said, Breath of the Wild was hard.
Yeah.
Tears of the Kingdom is hard.
Yeah.
I'm able to, I would be able to go through Ocarina of Time probably without dying once.
Yeah.
I die a lot.
No.
Like,
in the open world games, it's almost guaranteed you're going to die a lot.
Like, the whole thing is, like, you're talking about not enough stamina. Well, sometimes I run out of stamina holding my paraglider after skydiving. And you know what happens? I fall. And I die.
Tears to me looks like they took Horizon Zero Dawn and Fallout 4, and they were like, what if these two games had a baby and it wore Zelda cosplay?
You know what this game feels like to me? This game feels like Breath of the Wild was a rough draft.
Yeah, no, I totally could see that. I totally see that.
A
just
game that was
at...
like a 10 out of 10, but like 7 things.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna say that Breath of the Wild wasn't a 10 out of 10. But I am going to say Tears of the Kingdom is better.
Yeah.
Which is really saying something about Tears of the Kingdom.
No, because Breath of the Wild is, I mean, visually it's stunning. The gameplay is great. I have not progressed far enough into the game to be completely captivated by it yet. And I'm not like a huge Legend of Zelda like diehard either, right? Like, I love the games.
I am. I have bought every single Nintendo system that a new Zelda has come out on.
So you've got both ends of the spectrum here, right? And from what I've seen of the gameplay so far, and like I said, I played Breath of the Wild. I haven't gotten my hands on Tears of the Kingdom yet, but I have seen some of the gameplay, and it does not look like it's going to disappoint in any slight of the form.
Yo, people are committing war crimes with this build mechanic.
The build mechanic is absolutely insane, and it makes me, like, I worry for the developers. Like, I hope the dev team is okay, because that fucking build mechanic on top of the open world that they've built, and like, Tears of the Kingdom is supposed to be like one of the largest open world games.
Oh, it's fucking huge.
Yeah.
They've taken Breath of the Wild and multiplied it by more than...
And Breath of the Wild was already
like,
a huge
they
open
more than
world
doubled the size of the map.
Right.
Because they gave Hyrule an underground.
So...
And then there's also Sky Island, so they more than doubled the size of
I
Breath of the
hope
Wild.
the dev team is okay. I'm glad they got this out because before the writer's strike happened, because I don't know if the writer's strike affects video games as well. But
I don't think it affects Japan.
Oh, fair enough. But I mean, I guess fair enough, right?
The Writers Guild of America, I don't think they affect Japan.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. It's not
The whole Writers Guild of America thing.
I mean, fair enough. I get it. It's not an American company. I'm thinking because, yeah, that's just me being Amerocentric, right? But, like...
This game is magical. It's incredible.
Here we go. Zig is he's not even ashamed
I always
to
tried
admit
to, like, cape for Skyward Sword, because one of the coolest things of Skyward Sword was just to be able to, like, be on your bird and then jump off and go skydiving. I thought that was so cool. And you know what they did with this? They made it just as cool, but you can actually go wherever now. And you can jump from the highest spot all the way to your death and save yourself hundreds of dollars in therapy.
I can go anywhere.
The whole weapon durability thing, they fixed it. Do you want to know why? Do you want to know how? They introduced this fuse mechanic. So you can take anything you find and fuse it to a weapon. If you find a ruby, you can fuse it to a weapon, and all of a sudden, your sword is shooting fireballs.
I feel like they could have easily fixed the weapon durability mechanic by allowing you to take new weapons and fuse them to your old weapons to improve the durability. Yeah, of course.
Now you can do that.
Yeah.
You can fuse a shield to a sword.
No, not
you can use it. No, you can fuse. You know how in Breath of the Wild,
I mean, like,
you have a two-handed sword. You can't hold a shield, right?
Yeah.
You can fuse a shield to a two-handed sword, and now you can block with your two-handed sword.
I mean, yes, that's clutch. That's clutch. I'm not even gonna argue that. But I'm like talking like even simpler than that, because like, do you know how many times you've run across enemies that have the same weapon that you have in Breath of the Wild? It would be super dope if instead of adding that weapon to your inventory, you can just use it to repair the weapon that you have already.
That would be cool, and I mean, I guess that's something that I wish there was a way to, like,
repair.
Like, hard repair. There is one, but it's a really weird conditional one.
Yeah.
But now,
it's not
in
like
Breath of the
Witcher.
Breath of the Wild, there was no way.
Yeah.
Tears of a Kingdom, there is one way, and you can do it once every blood moon cycle.
See, that's stupid. Like,
you take your weapon and you throw it to this specific Octorok, and then the Octorok will spit it back out at you fully repaired. But you can only do it once a blood moon cycle, once an Octorok.
That's weird.
But it's better than not being able to do it at all in Breath of the Wild.
I guess, right? I mean, when you have The Witcher, where you can, just easily, or fucking Dark Souls, where you can just easily repair your weapon.
Or, you know, in Tears of a Kingdom, you can just make another super epic weapon on the fly.
All right, man, Dark, calm down.
Ha 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 ha!
No, that's totally how this game has got you though right now, right? Like you're just like laughing with joy. And how many hours have you clocked in so far?
At least 20. And I'm still in the early game, and I still feel clueless. Yeah. I'm seeing people do shit on YouTube that I never would have fucking even thought of.
So by the time this comes out, he'll probably have at least quadrupled that gameplay time.
They give you this ability that lets you rewind time. And I cannot believe I'm saying this, but I underestimated the power of something that lets you rewind time.
That guy in Florida didn't.
So you can take your Ultra Hand ability. Yes, that's the fucking name of it.
The Ultra Hand.
Because it lets you do anything.
Because it lets you
it's
go
the build
beyond.
Mechanic. It lets you move. It lets you move shit, and then it lets you stick stuff together. It lets you re-angle things. So you take your Ultra Hand ability, and you need to take your glider from a fucking sky island half a way across the map. But no, you have no tracks to run your glider on. So you just take your Ultra Hand ability, lift the glider up over the edge for a little bit, and then pull it back. And then stand on top of the glider, reverse time, and it will follow the track that it was when you Ultra Handed it. You release time, and then mid-air, the glider will drop and start to gracefully glide.
Listen, you can always leave it up.
Or, you know, you can just crucify Koroks.
To the hive mind to find every way to absolutely break a video game. This game seems like it's got an infinitesimal amount of ways to break.
It has other game developers tweeting at Nintendo, legitimately asking, how the fuck did you even make this game?
Slave labor. The answer is slave labor, and that's why they don't have a writers union.
But they made a damn good game, and they sold, hold on, give me 1 second while I look this up. Tears of a Kingdom sold 10 million copies in 3 days.
Damn.
At $70 a piece.
I'm not surprised though, because the anticipation for this game and the build up has been pretty heavy, right? Like the marketing campaign for the release of this shit has been pretty intense.
It is Nintendo's strongest franchise, if you ask me. It is the breaking case of emergency franchise.
I mean, it is probably one of, and I mean, they did make it very optimal for the Switch, right? Like, it is like a game that is perfectly tailored to this console or this generation.
They give Link
of
a
console.
Switch in the game. They call it the Pura Pet, but it's a Switch. It's a Switch.
Wow. See, and the only other game I anticipate doing this kind of number right now is probably that Final Fantasy VII Part 2 drop that's supposed to
FF7R2?
Yeah, that's supposed to happen in the winter, later on this year in the winter time.
I messaged my friend Mike, who I told you, like, we became friends. We used to, like, hang out in elementary school together.
Yeah.
I messaged him. He mentioned that he had a PlayStation 5, and I was like, hey, Mike, so when FF7R2 comes out, can I come hang out at your house and play Final Fantasy while you watch like we were kids? And he was like, that actually sounds kind of dope.
And the fact that he responded that way is just another reminder that
none of this is normal.
But what is normal
is ordering all of your Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, Flesh and Blood, Magic the Gathering, board games, and card game supplies at tokenmtg.com and using the promo code Ziggy to get 10% off of your order.
Because if you're not, you're seriously missing out. That once again is
tokenmtg.com and the promo code Ziggy for 10% off of your order. So if you spent like $100 on Magic cards, first I'd be asking why. And second, I'd be saying if you used our promo code, you could have saved $10.
Right, because why would you throw that much money at Blizzards and Wizards of the Coast?
Well, fuck Blizzard and Wizards.
When you could
However, you should totally support Token MTG if you're already a slave to their system.
And you could be supporting our Patreon, where you can find us at the Flood Pod on everything. And this is your third reminder that is
on everything.
And we'll be back at you guys again next week with more of those hot takes and fire pop culture.
But for real, Token MTG is great. Wizards of the Coast just sucks.
And we'll see y'all.
Deuces!
Look, it's a flood.
It's a flood.
It's flooding.
Get away.
Quick, we need to get to higher ground.
Open the floodgates.
Wait, why can't we talk about Black Sun?